Yo, what's up guys? It's Talon. If you don't know me, I've been rank 1 in Wild Rift solo queue and a 5-role Sovereign, all solo queue on 5 different accounts. Today we're going to be coaching a Lilia player, largely talking about playing from ahead, not throwing games. And then the second half is kind of me giving them a roadmap for climbing. So basically he said he just wanted to do one game, and then he wanted me to just provide him with a basic roadmap of what he should be doing week to week in climbing. Or how to climb. So basically the second half of the video is just the notes on the gameplay and the notes on that. If you guys are interested in coaching from me, DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord server. Lastly, there's a Google Doc linked in the description that gives you key concepts of Wild Rift and videos associated with them, or I will create videos soon if I haven't already. Anyways, let's get right into the video. I hope you guys enjoy. So what rank are you, or did you hit last season, I guess?
Last season I hit Grandmaster.
Okay. And do you have a goal this season?
Yeah, Grandmaster 1 or Challenger, but I think it's more important to just keep improving and then the rank will be whatever it is.
Okay. And is jungle just like, we're just playing jungle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the time I play jungle, sometimes mid or top, but...
Gotcha. Okay, and you said you wanted to basically, like, we go over this replay with, like, normal, we write notes, and then you want me to give you a roadmap, so you said, like, just to find basically the most important things to improve on from, like, week to week, like this, right?
Yes, and also things like you do not see in the video, but you think by yourself, hey, that is smart if you also practice that, you know? So like, yeah, a real, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. I haven't done it before, so, you know, we'll see, like, yeah, we'll try
I'm
and
sorry,
figure
what
out
did you
exactly how
say?
to do it. What?
There was some extra noise on the line. I didn't hear what you say.
Oh, I just said I've not done that before, so we'll see, you know, exactly, like, might take me a minute to kind of think
Okay.
about exactly what I think is important, but I mean, yeah, we'll essentially just go over what we think are the most important concepts for jungle, and I'll likely have videos on them or make videos on them throughout the season as well, so you can kind of have like something else to refer to. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Are there any specific struggles that you've been having, or like questions you've had, or stuff like that, or?
Yes, I would really like to know how you can play around your stronger lanes. And like in this case, in this example of the video, we are ahead at the start of the game, but then we throw it at the end. And how can I keep that from happening?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Lilia is slightly worse at playing around strong lanes early because you have to start blue, and obviously you're not like super strong early game. So it's a bit more like when you're a champion like Lilia, you're usually using the fact that your teammates got strong early to get yourself strong enough that you can stop your teammates from throwing if they do make a mistake, because then you get like fed. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It kind of depends on the situation, obviously. I like that you're scrolling your map, like actually looking at the lanes and everything. Volley is jungle and just like goes and dies randomly, so now you have kind of like, if we look at that, I don't know if you scrolled your map to see what. So I'd like you to look at what buffs she got from that, because then you'll know like, oh, he's done his blue or hasn't done his blue. So that, or like even if his red's still up, you know, like so we would have wanted to do that. Do you know what I mean by that? Like,
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So that would have been like ideal. Not the end of the world, but definitely helps either way. I mean, and again, like I also want you scrolling your map here. Like again, like I want you checking what's happening with this Kale, because right now Kale is probably not level 5 yet. You're hitting level 5. This is like a dive angle, and so like for example, if you saw that he'd already taken blue there, but he didn't have red, right? You would know you're completely safe to do this. But if it was the opposite and he didn't have blue but he had red, then you'd know that volley is probably coming here soon, and you might not want to dive, you know? So
Yeah.
we want to be aware of those types of things, because it's like Kale, like that's what we want to be doing. And then so here you see this, but you can see how you could have already known this, and then you wouldn't have had to be in kind of like a little bit of a worse position. But I don't mind sort of sitting to fight him because you are up levels. Like I don't mind you know, walking like this because you knew he was inefficient, so that's all fine. And you had Prio, but again, like
That's
want you
why
looking.
I did the play.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's why I did the play, because I saw him ganking when I was around level 3, so I thought, okay, he started red, he will be coming to blue, I am a higher level and probably stronger, so why not taunt him a little?
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. And it's because you, like, if you didn't have Prio with Yasuo, then it would have been bad. But since Yasuo had Prio, it was a great play, correct choice. But the problem is, again, you didn't have that information guaranteed, is the only thing, right? Like, again, we
Yeah.
look at the Samira, we make sure we know what buff she has. We look at the Kale to know what level Kale is, so we know if we can dive or not. If we know those things, it's going to be important, or it's going to be better, basically. And then, so if we look at it, we think he probably went, you started blue side. We're thinking he started blue side, probably. I'm thinking his red side camps can come up quite soon, within the next probably 10-20 seconds. It's not a bad idea to check when a jungler's been this inefficient. We can kind of tell, like, the Volibear is kind of spam ganking. He went back to blue side again. So it's something we want to look at. And then again, I want you scrolling your map to see what's going on top side right now, to see if there's a wave under that turret that might be diveable, or like these types of things. And right now, like, I want you, after you go here, to go sweep and look at his Krugs, and then just use the Krugs as kind of an excuse to it. And you just left the...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, obviously that's just a simple mistake. But honestly, the bigger problem is just not getting the information earlier, and again, like, not using that prio the enemy had basically or your teammates had, as an excuse to get his Krugs for free, because you can just sit there and farm his Krugs, and then as you're sitting there, like, your team has prio. If they start fighting, you can go. If they don't fight, you just back off with them. You have flash, so you're not, like, overly scared of anything. And so yeah, basically the gist of your gameplay so far is that I want you being more aware of the lanes, scrolling to them, getting more information, and then taking advantage of it. So for example, again, the fact that Volibear was inefficient meant that you could have used the prio you had from your Samira and your Pike to get an invade on the Krugs, because instead of doing the scuttle right away, for example, if you're just on the Krugs right away, they can help you out with that potentially. And that's a camp that you're not going to be able to get 10 seconds from now when volley eventually comes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. At this point, I mean, it's just going to be farm. And yeah, and here you realize that he's been quite inefficient, so you do this. I'm fine with this because you have flash. If you don't have flash, oh, volley is actually dead. Never mind, I didn't notice he's dead. So the fact that he's dead, then is 100% obviously fine. And yeah, you can take that probably too. So I mean, overall, your awareness of where the enemy jungler is good. Again, I think sometimes, like, slightly less aware of lanes than you could be. Like, again, just looking at that Kale, for example, earlier, like, again, you didn't see that, you just saw it on your minimap, and you didn't really have additional information. But yeah, go ahead.
I saw his ult. That's why I went in. I thought
Yeah.
I saw his ult, and then I was like, oh, I can dive him.
Yeah. And again, I just want you scrolling for that information earlier, rather than, again, like, our camera is pretty much locked for a majority of the time. As a jungler, it's just the information that's important for you. But again, you still, like, your choice was fine. I'm more just talking again about, like, the mechanical thing of actually paying attention to specifically what's going on, because it makes our choices easier and everything. But that's really all. I mean, I don't mind you prioritizing mid because it's past 6 minutes now, and I mean, you can go into here too because you have the stronger top lane. I like that.
And also, I think Herald is better than Dragon.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, the fact that he can test you, I mean, you can just go to either, or you can go to Dragon rather after. I don't know why you, like, kept hitting. You could have just, like, kited back and then waited for the thing to disappear, like the ult, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. And yeah, you got, like, a little greedy in the fight, but overall you played the fight fine. I mean, again, I think you're playing the game pretty well so far. Like, I don't see a whole lot of mistakes. And it makes sense as well. This is a champion where the early game is very straightforward on Lilia. It's like get gold and then take easy kills. This is generally how these types of champs work. And you said the game is, more of a struggle later on, so we'll see what happens there. But no, I mean, again, the main thing I really want you to take away from the early game is just the camera, like, panning and using that information so that you can do things like take that invade with prio or whatever. Because those small things are kind of one of the ways you can play around stronger laners. It's just if we're able to, force kind of invades with that prio because the enemy jungle is inefficient, like, it's gonna make it pretty easy. And then take advantage of the fact that you have Herald recall to recall here and then go farm your red side right away. Because it's not any slower than walking to red side because you have, like, the fast recall and then you get to spend 1800 gold. So we want to take advantage of that recall basically, instead of trying to drop this on like tier 2 when we're probably not going to get the whole turret, because someone should be here defending. Like if they're not, then great, you know. But you're not going to like get a turret out of this. You're just going to get like, if you get a turret, they're inting, and there's just like no way this should ever be possible. Like this isn't something we should have predicted. We didn't have the information to think this can happen. We just got lucky that it actually happens. But like I'd prefer you taking more advantage of the Herald recall, and then dropping it when we're guaranteed to get a turret, or when we and you're kind of overextending here too, like volleys, and we're just kind of wasting time.
I love that.
But yeah, does that make sense with Herald, or do you have questions on that?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
So it was better to just recall, take red side, and then maybe drop it on the top turret to get the tier 1 there.
Yeah, top or bot. So to be clear, like Herald to get tier 2 is better. It's just you shouldn't have been able to get it there. You didn't have the information to think you can get it. We just kind of, we got lucky that they didn't respond. And a lot of times the way that I'm going to be using Herald is for like a dive. So I'm not just going to use Herald just to get a turret on a tier 1, because you don't get plates from it anymore, so you're not like in a rush to drop it. So you wait until you see a situation where like enemy Baron laner is under turret, and my Baron laner is pushing, and I can drop the Herald, it'll kill it, and then I can dive after it because the turret will be dead. Like those types of plays are usually what you're going to want to use Herald for ideally. And you also want to, again, take more advantage of the recall timer so you can be more efficient. But obviously it's going to be unique to the game. Like if you're not able to find any dive or anything, you just drop it on a turret that, you know, you can kill by the time it's like going to expire. Or if you can get a tier 2, that is best overall. So
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, like what you're doing is fine. Mostly just making sure we're farming. You're occasionally getting, you know, the outer turret, like the bot turret. You made a good play to make sure you're getting it with your teammate. I'm pretty fine with everything there. Not really anything you have to force either. Like you can, again, I want you scrolling right now. Like I want you to know what's happening there. It's not the end of the world that you don't, but that is something that, because now like we've done a couple coachings and I know like you play the game like pretty fine, you're efficient, you know what you're doing. Like nitpicking those types of things is going to be a bigger deal, because that's what's going to lead to you like, you know, being able to carry a lot of harder games, is just using that information in certain situations. But overall, again, you played this well. Don't have really complaints. I just want to make sure you're taking as much gold as you can after this. So I would look for an invade, because your champ doesn't push turrets fast. So like the problem is like Lilia will sit here for an hour doing this. I'd rather do something that's a lot faster, which is you invade as Krugs, maybe you get mid, recall, spend your gold, you know, get the dragon. Instead, we sit here. It takes a lot longer for us to do this. Usually, we'd rather have our teammates be pushing this first, and then we can reset faster. Instead, we end up not being able to reset as fast, which means we can't set up as fast. So, like, it's kind of a weird thing, because on the one hand, you want to get as much gold as possible before, or like after you win a fight. But on the other hand, you have Baron in this case spawning in 12 seconds, and we want to make sure we're like immediately able to get on that. So wasting that much time when we don't push very fast, instead of doing something else like getting the camps and then getting mid and then resetting quicker, is usually going to be better in terms of getting back to the side of the map we want. Instead, we're going to end up, again, like even this is like especially greedy. Like the other things, you know, not the end of the world, not like bad choices, again, completely reasonable choices. But then here now you're not going to be resetting until like 0 seconds before Baron, you know, and then by the time you actually spend your gold, Baron would have been up for like 10 seconds, and this allows the enemy to get vision. It allows someone to maybe randomly camp in a bush or find a flank angle or invade or do a number of things that are the way you're going to throw the game. Like you're not going to throw the game because you didn't get, you know, 200 more gold from a wave or something, or from a camp at this point in the game. You're going to throw the game because you didn't set up on an objective in time. So it's important to take as much as you can out of a one fight, and you were aware of that. But you see what you're doing now, right? Like you can kind of tell, like it's just more the like really hard overstay. It's not even necessarily the fact that you got the tier 2. That was a reasonable choice, even if I would, you know, go for the camps first, and then the wave, because I'm Lilia. But the problem is now you're sitting here for like way too long. You're not resetting till 11:22, and we really need to be aware in a game where we're fed of the Baron, because that is ultimately what the game is going to revolve around. So it's like farm, be efficient, which you did a very good job of so far this game. And then 11-minute mark is hitting soon, so you're at like 10:30, let's say. And then we want to start being very, very aware of the Baron. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
And luckily, the enemy just gave us this for free. So shout out to them.
True.
But your teammates do
Well,
kind of hint. So, you know, you should reset here. Like, I don't want to go fight like a situation like this when I don't care that it works, by the way. Like, again, like I know like in a game where you're winning, pretty much most decisions will work. And so then you're going to be like, oh, this is an okay choice. We killed 4 people. But again, you're winning this game. The way you lose this game is through teammate gets caught. Then because one teammate gets caught, we go into the fight after, and then we die because we have numbers disadvantage, and then we throw the game. Like, that's how you're going to lose. And so these types of decisions are what lead to throws. Is like you went and fought a 3v5, the enemy used a couple cooldowns, but not like you had information on which cooldowns they really used here. Like, because you didn't score your map. Like, you didn't actually know like what they have, who's flashed, who's ulted, who's done what. Like, Kale could have ult. Like, obviously Kale likely doesn't have ult, but they could. You have no idea, and you just walk forward anyways and decide to go and fight this. And again, it's usually going to end up working because we're fed, but the problem is we're going to win fights the majority of the time anyway when we're fed. But if we go in to the one time where it's at disadvantageous, which is when it's a 3v5, that's how we're going to throw. So overall, your main issues are just, again, not really getting information very effectively. I mean, this is obviously very greedy too. I don't think I need to talk about that. That's kind of obvious, but like not getting information properly, overstaying with your tempo. So after you win a fight, like overstaying too long, it's good to take a lot of gold from a one fight, but you're staying just, you know, again, too long. And just like understanding in a game where we're very ahead, it's no longer about snowballing and snowballing. It's about not throwing, you know, at a certain point. And then the other thing here. So does that all make sense? Do you have questions on any of that though?
No, it makes sense.
Okay. And then the other thing I just want to talk about here is like when we have Baron, our goal is usually to get the easiest turret to take. So in this case, you know, there's only one tier 2 turret up. So you should have stayed on this bot wave and kept pushing it. But instead you backed off. Like you ended up pushing, I think, this. Or you've tried to fight them here. Which it was honestly fine for you to Q, but then obviously the W is greedy. But you see how you ran away here. Like, just go sit in the lane and just push the wave when it comes. But instead, you do this, you're not going to get any turrets out of this, whereas you could have possibly gotten a tier 2 on bot side. Make sense?
Yeah.
And again, obviously, you got greedy with your flash, you know, like, again, because you're forcing kind of a 1v3 sort of scenario, which, once again, is just, like, unnecessarily risky. So, kind of the same mistake, and you can see you're going to die because of it, I guess. Like, and the reason you die here is because, well, one, again, you're forcing a fight by yourself. Maybe you live, but obviously still greedy regardless. You're forcing a fight by yourself when your teammates aren't there, right? And since you didn't push the wave faster, you're now pushing the wave once Baron's kind of, you know, expiring. So then you're not having a bigger wave to pressure the turret harder. So that's obviously kind of an issue. So again, like, the goal of us when we're ahead, again, is going to be, like, generally speaking, grouping with our team more, but, like, using the fact that waves are pushed to group. So, like, you push a wave, then you use that wave being pushed to go into your team. So, like, if you were on that Baron wave right away, the fact that you push that Baron wave then allows you to go in with your team if nobody comes to help you take the turret, and if someone comes to help you take the turret, obviously you get the turret, and it's great as well. But yeah, like, basically, we just need to be more aware of the fact, because like, I'm sure you've probably seen in my videos before, I say, when you're behind, the way to come back is to play on the opposite side of the enemy, right? Like, yeah. The jungler goes top side, you go bot side, or vice versa. Have you, like, heard that, or you understand why that is?
Yeah, so you don't have to fight the stronger enemies.
Yeah. And so the exact opposite is true if you're doing what you were doing. Like, you're super, super fed, but you're bot side by yourself, which means, like, if we're in a team fight, how are the enemy going to win a team fight? They're going to win it if the Lilia is dead, because you're a 4-item Lilia. Like, you're incredibly strong. You're probably the most fed person on your team at this point. And so if you get caught on side lane randomly in a 1v2, that's a very big problem. But if you're in a 5v5 and you guys are this fed, it's very unlikely you're going to lose, unless things like you blowing your flash, you know, randomly on a side lane, or obviously teammates will grief sometimes and make mistakes. But basically, we want to be having even numbered fights and more like consistent, 5v5, 4v4s when we're ahead, and when we're behind is when we want to create the 1v2s on side lane. So your goal with side laning when you're ahead is basically to get the lane pushed so that you have that prio to then go into fights, not to create like side lane fights, basically. And then there's that, and then there's also you're super fed. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, if you have something else to say.
No, I have nothing to say.
Okay, sorry. So you're super fed. You have 4 items, and then you decided to build. You're building Trident, I guess.
Yeah.
It's way better to first of all grab your stasis here, like you have enough for stasis, and then grab Twin Guard last. So when we're super ahead as a carry champion, we want to build more defensively. A champion like Lilia, she has so much damage that she can actually just build like a straight up tank item like Twin Guard. Other champions might just build, a GA or a Ma or whatever. But the point is, defensive itemization is much better when we're ahead. Because again, what's the goal here? The goal is to not throw, like your goal is not to snowball. Your goal is not to, one-shot the enemy carry. Your goal is to not throw, because if you play the fight normally, if you play it properly, you will be fine. But again, if we kind of late reset again, this is the way that our teammates could potentially throw. Your teammates don't throw in this case, but that's how they could potentially throw. And that's sort of what we need to be aware of. And it's the same with you, again, like you get caught once and you don't have stasis, it's a bigger problem. Plus Lilia with stasis is just OP. Like you Q flash stasis alt, or Q flash alt stasis, like.
Yeah, okay.
And then forcing this is maybe a bit risky when your Yasuo is not here and your Vel'Koz is dead. It looks like you're, yeah, like I'm fine with you hovering here. I would probably just be poking with Q though, not with, yeah, like your bigger issue is you're kind of using your W. Like a lot of your W usage is very problematic. So you a lot of times go in on someone who has like a way to stun you. Like again, like we could just go back to this fight, like watching when you W in, right? You W in on someone who has Volibear Q, right? Like he has his stun, and you know that. So when we're a squishy champion, we need to be aware of the very specific spells the enemy have, rather than just going on them with our all of our spells as soon as we see them. And then additionally, if you look at the situation, so you want control of Baron, obviously, right? And you are strong, so like it's not like just because your Vel'Koz is dead for 5 seconds, you have to be completely scared. But there's a better way to get control of Baron here, rather than just sitting here and trying to fight them. And that's going to be through the mid wave. So when you're in this situation where you're kind of trying to stall for your team, or you don't really know exactly what to do around a Baron, but you do want to be around that Baron or that Elder or whatever, use the mid wave to draw people to you and then make them have to come into you. Because again, if you're focused right away on, like, say you go in mid, you E the mid wave, and then you're kind of just like controlling that, you clear that first, you have prio, it means the enemy are going to have to go clear the mid wave. And then you get control of the bush, you stall for your teammates to come, and then once your teammates are actually all here is when you start looking for the fighting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, basically just better spell tracking, keep track of things like Volibear Q or ult, and make sure we don't just go in on someone, who has those dangerous spells. Build a bit more defensively when ahead, and be more aware of teammates' positioning when ahead, so that we're not fighting, these kind of negative fights in these types of situations, because that's how we're gonna throw, is this type of thing. But and then yeah, use holy shit, fucking that was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and use mid wave to draw people to you and set up the fight easier, rather than just sitting in the Baron pit and fighting, basically.
Yeah.
He's spotted on the thing, but he's still works. You really wanted the penta. Unlucky.
Yeah. But yeah, that Rice got fat in the end, and that's how we lost.
I see. Well, I like that you push out the side with Baron. That's fine. I mean, you're not like overly concerned with actually pushing this turret. It's more again about getting the wave. Like, you can auto it, you can try, but it's generally again just more about getting the wave here and waiting for your team. So like you see, like this is more what we're looking to do is like we wait till our team's actually coming, but once again you force another fight before your team's actually really on their way, and that leads to you just blowing cooldowns. Like even though a lot of your mistakes haven't led to like huge throws, you've blown numerous ults or flashes on nothing on side lane because you're playing around, and then you do end up dying here, because you're playing around like these odd numbered fights where you don't have as many people alive, or not alive, but like on your side of the map, you know, helping you or whatever. And you force these early 1v3s or whatever. You just try to poke, kind of again poke with our like third ability, or maybe every once in a while with our first ability, not with our second ability. And we gotta get kind of again just gotta be more aware of our teammates' positioning basically. And obviously your teammates made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, and you just forgot to build stasis here, so yeah, which it happens. I've done that before. You know, it is what it is.
And I believe we are here being overwhelmed, and then I got in. That was very dumb of me.
Yeah, and so like this is just a complete int by your teammates first, like to go forward before your other teammates get here, and then you join them. So a couple things. Obviously, if you had stasis, you know you can possibly find like a Q flash and an alt angle, and then get out, or a stasis. But also we want to wait for our teammates to be here before we're doing this, because like you're not gonna one-shot people. I mean, you're aware that you're not gonna magically kill all 5 of them, but you can get them relatively low, and then Pyke might be able to ult. Pyke AFKs in this case, so it kind of sucks. Nothing you can do about that, obviously. But you still could have waited for Yasuo to come or whatever, and been more aware of that.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not actually like this part here, this Elder part. While you did kind of go in a bit too impatiently, that's mostly the fact that your teammates died right away. Like you weren't really gonna stop that. But the issue is all these other things we're talking about, the defensive itemization. It looks like you're kind of figuring that out now. But yeah, like the defensive itemization, the, you know, not fighting around numbers disadvantages when we're ahead, the just using waves to get control of objectives, or, you know, pushing out the proper waves of Baron. Like those are more the issues that you have. And also the spell tracking in fights, because you do play the fights quite poorly mechanically as well. And here, like, you kind of panic, like you could have queued first and then and then smited rather. But yeah, like the mechanics of the fight, a lot of times you are kind of not keeping track of really like what spells they have or anything. And like again, like Wing into people who have like volley burst on or other things, and that's definitely like mechanically speaking a mistake. But yeah, I think that's kind of the gist of it. We'll write notes out, and then yeah, we'll do like you kind of wanted a overview of what you should be doing throughout the season, so we'll do that as well.
Okay,
you
nice.
see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, we'll just go through the notes first. So early game, you mostly did what you should. I just more want you to scroll map, or scroll, not map, like camera better. Camera more to lanes, get better info. But your early game again was largely fine. Maybe like could have invaded red side, enemy red side when we had a lot of prio. Like I'm talking about the Krug situation.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Yeah. That's a small thing though. I'm not overly concerned with that. And your early game overall was good. I mean, we're playing Lilia. It's a very straightforward early game champion, and you understand how to play these basic things well, so I'm not going to harp too much on the early game. Again, though, I do want you paying more attention to lanes, because if you get more information from the lanes, you're going to have better dive angles. Like, again, if that Kayle was level 4, Yasuo was level 5, you have a very likely dive angle, especially if you're playing a champion who's better CC. Lilia is a little harder, but still definitely can do it. But yeah, that's kind of the early game stuff. Then I'm more concerned with the one thing is like your tempo usage. So after winning a fight, it is good to take a lot of gold from it, from the map, I guess. But we need to reset basically before enemy get back on the map. Otherwise, this is how you're gonna lose. Like it's very often that I'm playing jungle, for example. I lose a fight, I respawn, I notice the enemy haven't recalled because you were sitting on like 3,400 gold at a point, and I'll just like buy ult them or whatever champ I am, you know, I'll force like a fight on them. And a lot of times I'll die and then my team just wins the fight because I know like this enemy doesn't have flash and they have the numbers, you know, disadvantage, or they don't have their gold spent. So it's like, yes, you're ahead 5,000 gold as a team or whatever, 10,000 gold, but if you haven't spent 3,400 gold and your teammate hasn't spent 1,000, I don't know why I said 1,000, not 1,000, but you know, you get the point. Like you haven't spent 5,000 gold, all of a sudden you're not even really ahead at this point in the game, and you never really want to be in a situation where you're ahead in gold, but you're not ahead in stats because you haven't spent your gold, which is essentially a very similar concept to the numbers advantage thing. So like win ahead, we want even numbered fights more than numbers advantages. And this sounds weird, but the reason you don't want number advantage fights, and I'm not saying literally never, of course you can sometimes force a fight with a numbers advantage. The point is, if you have a numbers advantage, that means there's a numbers disadvantage somewhere else. So if we're fighting a 1v or a 3v2, that means there's a 2v3 somewhere else. And obviously this depends on the specific situation. Sometimes the enemy are dead or they have reset, and then it's fine to force the numbers advantage fights. So if you want me to word this differently, then let me know. But the point is that I don't want you taking numbers disadvantage fights when we're ahead, basically. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Then yeah, like with Baron, play for the easiest to take tower.
And I have a question. What
Yeah.
do you do? Like I often, when Baron spawns, I want to get on Baron right away, but then my team is like somewhere else on the map and they won't listen and they won't come. Do you then just stay near Baron and farm, or what do you do?
Yeah, so when Baron is spawning, or is spawned, but we cannot take it. And this could be you can't take it because your teammates aren't there. It could be you can't take it because you're not strong enough or whatever. Then control waves around Baron. So it's essentially the concept that I was talking about when I told you to wait for your teammates that one time around Baron, when you kind of fought. It's just that when our teammates won't come right away, just control the waves around Baron, get a ward if you have wards. I mean, generally you're not going to have wards as a jungler, but like if you realize that you really need vision around it, you can take wards, or just make sure that you're aware of the fact that the enemy aren't doing it. And essentially all you're trying to do is make sure mid waves push to try to get vision on the enemy and try to make sure the enemy don't do it. So yeah, just use the waves to at least have some pressure around the Baron, and then wait until your teammates eventually hopefully come, and obviously spam ping it as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, cool. So yeah, well, Baron, or with Baron, play to take the easiest tower. That's pretty straightforward. And then Herald, I just wrote this so I'd make sure I remember what I was going to say. So use Herald, or take advantage of Herald recall. Herald recall timer, and be patient to drop it. And then the points are going to be a little out of order, but it doesn't matter. With Herald, drop it either to break a full turret or create a dive. Like I usually am using it to create a kill. Like essentially, since now again it doesn't give plates, and it's usually I'm usually gonna have a timer within the, you know, however long, I don't even know how long a Herald lasts in your pocket, but however long it lasts in your pocket, like within that timer, I'm going to at some point be able to find a kill from it and a turret, not just a turret. So I'm almost always looking for that. And then if it's expiring, then obviously you just drop it to get a turret, or even just damage on a turret if you really can't get much out of it. But yeah, that's pretty much Herald usage. We really want to take advantage of the recall timer. So the recall timer, tempo, understanding numbers advantages, and the use of that within a game being ahead, scrolling our camera to get information, and then mechanically, I guess, is the last thing. So be more patient with W, and then keep track of key
Spells
enemies.
in general.
Yeah, and wait to go in until they are gone, and then also actually defensive itemization. So win ahead, itemize more defensively, especially.
And when you're behind, you
yeah.
And when you're behind, you can do it more offensively.
Yes, when you're behind, you want to build a lot more offensively. Because if we think about it this way, when I'm ahead, like when I'm a 4-item Lilia, I'm going to nearly one-shot everyone. Obviously, like you're not like a one-shot champ, but you're gonna pretty much one-shot everyone. And when I can have 4 items, I can have 5 items. Lilia's gonna do a fuck ton of damage to everyone regardless. When I'm behind, usually the only way I can win the game is if I find like a pick on someone, I one-shot them and catch them out. It doesn't matter if I get caught because I'm not holding like a gold bounty, so I'm not super worried about dying. And I kind of have to take more risky plays to hope that I can get that one shot, and I'm going to need as much damage as possible to do that. So, make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
And Lilia specifically is usually just like so fed on, or is not so fed, is so strong on 4 items that your 5th item can usually be defensive regardless because you just have a bunch of damage in your kit. Like you're gonna do a bunch of damage in every game on 4 items, even if other people are on 5 items at that point, because it's just that's what she does. So usually defensive item is just better 5th the majority of time, but in a more general sense, the defensive thing is like you're gonna build more defensively when ahead. Any questions on anything or anything else we talked about that you want written down before we go into the second part?
Yeah, about itemization.
Yeah.
Like I always do with Lilia, when I'm up ahead, then I will build just my first normal item. And when I'm even or behind, I will first build boots. Is that like what you also would have done, or do you always go for
I
your
always
first
rush
item?
boots. I will like always rush boots as Lilia because yeah, I did notice that you did Leandri's here, and I didn't really mention it because I'm pretty fine with you doing Leandri's first if you really want to rush the item. But no, I mean like I definitely prefer rushing boots because it's a really good power spike right after my first clear. I can immediately recall and grab it, get the pen and the extra AP. With the boots nerf, it's a little bit more like debatable, but I still would do that always.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Any other
Except for with
questions?
champions like Vi or Warwick, then you would build Trinity Force first, or
So, in jungle, if my champ builds defensive boots, I rush first item. If I build damage boots, I rush damage boots. Make sense?
okay.
And the reason
Yeah,
for
makes
that is
sense.
because it's just like easier to gank if I have damage, and if I'm making a proper choice in terms of when I'm gonna gank, I'm not gonna like need slightly more tankiness to not die. So I'm just more concerned with having enough damage to like get a gank off quick and be efficient, and it obviously helps with clear speed too. So
Yeah, I understand.
anything else?
No,
Okay.
that was it.
Then we'll go into the so basically what you want is like week by week, right? Like a
Yeah, give me
plan
a
of
roadmap. Yeah, a plan
yeah.
roadmap of like 1 week you practice this, 1 week
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So we'll just like roadmap to timing, I guess we'll write. So what there should be at this point 11 weeks more maybe or
Yeah, I believe 10 or 11, but we can just do 10.
okay, we can do 10 weeks, that works. So week 1. So these are your issues as it relates to also what's your champion pool? Is it just Lilia or
No, it's Evelyn, Lilia, Warwick, and Vi, and sometimes Poppy, depending on the team composition.
okay, so yeah, that's fine for the first 4 weeks, and then you should look at your highest win rate and go down to the next, or to just like probably 2 really. Like Evelyn and Lilia, they do very similar things. They're scaling farming AP champions. Yes, Lilia is better into tanks and Evelyn's better into squishies, but they're similar enough that I care more about your skill on them than doing both when they're going to do very similar things and be picked in very similar games. And then Warwick and Vi, very similar champions as well, but Vi is AD, so you kind of need an AD champion. So Vi is probably a better choice there, unless like you mega win with Warwick and you don't win that much with Vi. So that's probably the thought, but say that for whatever reason your win rate on Warwick is your highest and your win rate on Lilia is your lowest, then maybe we'll do like Warwick, Lilia, or Warwick, Evelyn, and Vi, for example, depending on how your win rates look. So that's something, again, I'll mention in like the later weeks. I'm trying to think of exactly how to phrase this because I've never done this before, so it might take me a minute to kind of think about exactly what we're. So I want at some point for you to be working on these things. Like, these are obviously initial things. They're the initial problems that you actually have like issues with that I can see. Whereas again, like you're already relatively efficient. I don't think you need to worry, about continuing to improve on that aspect of your gameplay a ton. I mean, it could be useful because,
Yeah, I do notice
yeah,
in my own gameplay that when I'm behind,
yeah.
I am less efficient in farming. That's something
Okay.
I noticed that I need to work on.
Then we can have that be, yeah, sort of one of the things we'll work on. So I would say the first week, I will just say we work on these points, like work on initial notes, because these are like the most like glaring things that we can see, pretty simply, and can continue into week 2 if needed. Like if you don't feel like you've really like worked on these fully, right? But initially, just work on these notes. These are kind of the things that you really should initially think on. Then I mean, we can focus on finding comebacks next if that's really what you feel like is the issue. So the thing is, like, as it relates to improving, it's not necessarily about this is the most important, this is the second most important. It's like, what are the things we're having issues with? Which is why a lot of times when I tell people about improving, like I say, like, watch my videos, find something you feel like you're not doing, and then basically make these types of notes, like as you see here. So as I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to think like what I really want you to specifically be working on. Or if it's more like I should say, like, for example, we're trying to focus on these certain champions and then narrow down champion pool and then go from there. So yeah, like it'll take me a minute to kind of think exactly how we should go about this. I mean, we can say comebacks kind of, or like playing from behind. So focus on playing from behind, and then I'll just make like general like kind of like little notes in the parentheses on what you're gonna be doing. So basically, like playing opposite side of enemy jungle, focusing on key targets. Like it's very important in comebacks that you identify who actually needs to die. Like when you're ahead, you can kind of just play the fight. Whoever's in front of you, you can hit them. You're gonna win the fight. But when you're behind, it's like, okay, well, they have a fed, say Melio and Jinx or whatever. You're gonna be targeting the Melio, not the Jinx, because the Melio has Veil and the Melio has ult and has ways to stop Jinx from dying. But if you kill the Melio, then you're kind of like, that's how you can win the fight. So you have to find a way to one-shot them, for example. Or you're aware of the fact that you blew Jinx QSS and then you can, buy ult her or whatever. So basically the point is, like, second week of the season, I think it's probably good to focus on something you identified as a weakness, which is just playing from behind. And this is also a very good way to like up your win rate in general. So play opposite side of enemy jungle, focus on key targets. I mean, these should be the main things. Obviously, like, again, I have some videos on how to come back to give more details on this, and these are kind of where you kind of like watch them and try to figure out specific things. Does that make sense? Do you have questions on that or additional things that like add for the playing from behind part, or?
Well, it makes sense, and it's okay.
Week 3. So this is something that I think every jungler needs to focus on a lot, and just focus on waves. So like what I mean by focusing on waves is focus on getting gold from waves, focus on covering waves when your teammate's not there, focus on, so I'll go turrets as well, like getting more gold from turrets, whether it's taking a turret while your teammate's doing a useless fight, whether it's taking the turret after your team doesn't, or after you like win a fight rather. And like also this type of situation is very common, which is right here, where you're about to hit level 5. This is especially Vi and Warwick are really good at this because they have better ganking obviously than Lilia or an early game Evelynn. But like right now Kaele's level 4 on this wave. You want when your teammate has like, you know, a good event or a good lane and you have decent gank setup, whatever, you want to be very aware of diving this turret and making a play here. Oftentimes as Vi, you would even skip scuttle to go right away if you think it's going to be better. Because for example, this wave right now, they're about to fight on this wave. If you sweep this area and you know there's no word here, then you're going to look for this like, you know, quick pick onto Kale. You're not going to kill Kale, but you're going to blow Kale flash and probably get poke on them. And then you have the wave pushing, and then you'll get XP from the wave to get you level 5 and you dive that way. Whereas if you do scuttle right away, then you're going to be late, right? Because the wave will already be cleared, and then Kale might hit level 5. So the point is, I want you to be focusing on waves and turrets and taking advantage of like key wave states to find a gank rather than over farming. So kind of like initially you're focusing on being very efficient and you're pretty good at that. And then this is kind of the situation where every once in a while it's going to be better to skip a camp to find these types of plays. And the times you're going to be skipping camps are going to be based on waves and turrets and whatnot. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. And then this week, choose your 2 main champions. Main champs for the season. And then I'll ride like, and still occasionally pick the others in easy games, like in good games for them, you know? Like if you see like, oh, this is just like Lilia is OP here, but I didn't have Lilia as one of my main too, you can, you know, obviously lock it in. And I'm obviously creating this in the context of climbing. Of course, having fun is important, and if you get super bored of playing 2 champions, that's a different issue. But as it relates to climbing, this is kind of the point in the season where I want you to start maining 2 champions, but you don't like have to hard commit. Like if you start struggling in week 5 on Evelyn, despite, you know, playing, like maybe you switch, you know, to back to Lilia or something. But especially like week 8, you're really gonna want to kind of make sure you're only on 2 champions. I don't know why I randomly hear myself echo every once in a while. Is there a reason for that?
No, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I like hearing my own voice, so you know, it is what it is. But choose your 2 main champions for the season during this point, and like and focus on the mechanics of the champs. So during this week, you choose those 2 champs. I want you mostly thinking about like how you're actually playing the champ mechanically, because a lot of times you end up, you know, playing a champ you played a lot, and you kind of start autopiloting. Like I noticed when I was a Varus one trick, after playing 200-300 Varus games, when it was like the only champ I'd play, like I play like 300 games and 250 of them are Varus games, I'd started to play worse than the champion until I took a break, played some other champs, and then got back into it. Like it'd give me the feel of it a bit better. And that's just because I would autopilot. It's not because I should have stopped playing Varus. And so the point is, I want you really thinking about how you're using your abilities during this week and everything you're doing with your champion. So for example, Vi players a lot, they don't use their mobility properly. They'll Q and ult at the same time, rather than Q for the knockup and then wait till enemy flash and then ult to follow, or wait till they use their mobility. And so mechanics of this, and I'll write spell tracking, because it's just generally I want you to focus on mechanics here, basically. Like choose your main champs, focus on the mechanics of the champs, focus on spell tracking, focus on fighting, focus on basically just mechanics. Basically focus on mechanics. Generally these types of things. And again, as I'm writing this out, these aren't the things you have to focus on. If you notice you're struggling with something else, switch my plan or DM me. You know, obviously, me like, do you think it's fine if I work on this instead? I'm losing a lot of games in this situation, and maybe it'd be better to work on that, because I can't predict all the issues you're gonna have, you know. But when I watch your gameplay, your mechanics are very bad. Like, just to be blunt about it, like when you're playing Lilia, your positioning in the fights, when you decide to go forward, when you awkwardly panic flash, like you're very scared and panicky in the fights, and you don't really have a lot of mechanical skill. And I don't mention that as hard, like when I'm coaching, because I just can't teach you certain things. But I want you to like obsess over the mechanics of the champion. Like watch maybe videos on your champion, watch people playing, and maybe watch back your own replays and see how you could have played fights better and really just focus on that. Like, I don't care if you win games or lose games here. I don't care if you take dumb fights. Like, take some dumb fights just to try to outplay people during this time, you know? So does that make sense? Or?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So then, this is the first week of the season, or the first 4 weeks of the season. These are kind of where we're trying to improve on our biggest things. That's why the initial notes, playing from behind is a big thing, and you said it's something you struggle with. The waves and turrets, again, is something you aren't very aware of, so that's also something that I think you need to really be focused on. And then the champion pool, we really get down. Then as it relates to the like week 5 to week, like let's say 7 or 8, I'm not as concerned with like learning a completely new thing, but more so just like optimizing all of our, like all of the key things. So basically the point is like, I want you to just be super obsessed over efficiency for a week. I guess I'm trying to think about what other things I think would be most important. I mean, I assume the efficiency thing is pretty straightforward, so it doesn't need to be talked about. I mean, the waves and the turrets, that's definitely one part of it. Like I said, by this point, I'll probably have some jungle videos on farming as well that will be like better to watch. But making sure we're getting gold out of camps at proper times, making sure we're getting waves past 6 minutes when we can, making sure we're taking advantage of enemies being inefficient, just everything that, like, you're already pretty good at this, but I want you to like obsess over it, because now at this point, again, we're not looking to like learn something completely new. We're looking to make sure we have a focus on the most important things and that we're like really, really good on it. So there's that. I'm trying to think about what other things I'm really going to think are that important to focus on, because at this point we kind of have a lot of it. Do you have ideas on anything that you think, or?
No, I'm thinking about it, but you really hit the main point.
Yeah,
Like
I
if I look
mean,
at my Evelyn play, then indeed mechanically I can improve a lot.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can like bullshit you and like write more random points, because again, these are a lot of the main things. But I think the reality is like we need to assess from this point what the main issues are now and go from there.
Yeah, but I think this is a nice start.
Yeah. Um, and so I'm just gonna say week 7 and 8 basically work on those main points. All right, again, can DM questions about them. So if you're like, I don't know, whatever you're struggling with, you DM me. Maybe I have a video on it, or maybe I'll just give you key points on it. Like you're free to message and I'll give you that. And then we'll say like week 9 and week 10. Basically, the goal is like now more, and realistically, this could even happen in like week 8, week 7, but especially like the last 2 or 3 weeks, like the goal is play completely focused. And what this means is like, if losing 2 games in a row, or if tilted, or losing 2 games in a row, take a small break. Focus only on how to win the game, not on teammates. Basically just like play super, super focused, completely like with the goal in mind of climbing and winning, and like not obsessing over teammates or not worrying about any specific thing to improve on. But this is kind of where like you're trying to get it all to come together. And yeah, this is really going to be like N10. Like it's not really different. It's like the point is, the first 4 weeks of the season, you can work on these things, which are like your main issues. 5th, 6th week of the season, kind of go into just getting better at the key points of the game. Again, maybe you figure out something later on that you're like, oh, I think I should continue to work on this. That's fine. Do that. Then yeah, like again, find those main points, really work on them on week 7 or week 8. But week 7 and week 8, you already kind of start with these last thing, which is really just trying to play completely like at your highest level. You're not anymore really trying to get like that much better in week 7, week 8, week 9. You're more so really trying to focus on like, now I'm playing to the ability that I have created through learning for the first 2 months. So yeah, are there questions on that or additional things you want or anything like that?
Oh, it's good.
Okay. I'll copy paste these to you then. I know it might not have quite been an hour. I don't know. Well, I
Oh
guess
no,
it
it's
was
fine. It's
been
fine.
55 minutes, so maybe close enough. But I'll see you later and good luck.
All right, thank you. Good luck. Bye.